Bit of a weird delay. Hello again, everyone. As you know, we're celebrating the new poetry of Fatima-Ayan Malika Hirshi and Toussaint St Negritude tonight. Fatima looks like she has a surprise for us of some sort, so I'm excited to introduce her. Fatima-Ayan Malika Hirshi lives on the unceded lands of the Toussaint Nation. She's the author of 2 chapbooks, Moon Woman and Everything Good is Dying. And her first full-length collection is Dreams for Earth. She is a fellow at the Pink Door Writing Retreat, the Anaphora Arts Writing Residency, In Surreal Life, and Abode Press. She was the founder of Dark Moon Poetry and Arts, a monthly series that highlighted creative, feminine, and non-binary energies across racialized experiences and artistic disciplines. She currently serves on the board of directors at Victoria Poetry Project, and her work can be found in journals such as Recenter Press, Mayday, Obsidian, Literature and Arts in the African Diaspora, Elysium Review, The Texas Observer, and many more. Please welcome Fatima.
Hi, everyone. The very first words in this book are for my mother, who taught me to love words, and for my daughters, who inspired me to dream. So my first poem will be about both of them. And it's very meaningful that the first words are for my mother because she was my best friend. And I'm hoping we can all just take a moment and breathe and think about the feeling of being loved. So the Canadian release date for my book is October 3rd. This is my mom. I took this picture when I was 8. That's why it's diagonal. Isn't she beautiful?
Can you show the people on Zoom? And would you please describe it for our member of the audience who doesn't have it?
Yeah, so my mom is in a beach with the ocean behind her in Jamaica, giving a striking pose and glowing with palm trees behind her. And I wanted to, since she can't be here, physically anymore, she died on March 11th. Anytime I'm reading from the book, I want to have her with me. I have 4 poems, and this one is actually not in the book, but I think it introduces her and my daughters well. It was recently published in December in Recenter Press. It's called 5 Things from a 4-Year-Old. 1, I've done so many buttons at school. 2, who does the forest belong to? 3, what are your tears made out of? 4, my French teacher's name is Gemma Pell. 5, if you love me, you'll do what I say. 1, when I was a teenager, my mother loved the White Stripes. My friend said she turned every rock song into opera. At work, she was called the singing nurse. Her patients clapped in adoration when she entered lonely rooms. They didn't know she crushed on Jack White. All they knew is she sang while distributing white pills. I watched her do so much not in her job description. She helped an elder shaking hands get the hardest button to button. My daughter is a lifetime away from gorgeous silver hair and all its potential accompanying maladies, but still, here we are, her trying to get the hardest button to button, insistent she needs no help when even tiny fingers disagree. 2. My mother and my daughter both love ocean and fear trees. In forests, Neela clings to me, worried about bears and the big fat wolf. We live in Canada now with Ursus americanus and Canis lupus down the street. A neighbor with a habit of leaving trash unsecured often accidentally feeds nursery tale friends. We wake to debris scattered across our yard. We pretend we missed a block party. One day, my daughter will be old enough to go to parties without me. I will tell her what my mother told me. Don't trust anyone. The internet is alive with commentary because most female-bodied people would choose to encounter a bear in forest instead of a man. Men, not understanding the point, hold their own comparisons about who they'd prefer meeting beneath trees. And all their hypotheticals still leave them alive. My daughter wants to know about ownership of the forest. I tell her, no one owns the forest. The forest belongs to themselves. I tell her, no one owns your body. Your body belongs to you. 3. At 3 a.m., my daughter appears beside our bed. I don't like being by myself. I can tell her face is wet by her jagged voice. My mother felt the same way, lamented an empty nest as brown eyes swirled with cataract clouds and caging rain. 4. No one told me parenting was half grief, half comedy, half drowning in seas of love, and 2/3 exhaustion. My proportions are off because I failed math 4 times in college and left without a degree. In Pennsylvania, I was fluent in Spanish. In Texas, I forgot how to conjugate verbs. In Canada, my daughter learns French while in the place we left, people who never learn compassion say, "Speak English." When my mother retired, her body began collecting ailments. In hospitals, nurses saw her hijab and didn't know she'd run nurses' stations longer than most of them had known how to walk. They assumed she couldn't speak English. So much surprise when she asked pertinent questions. Someday she'd have an appointment, get as far as her front door, dressed, shoes the only thing left to slip on body, and she'd choose to stay home. She'd say, "I'm not going. They'll try to kill you." 5. My daughter tries to teach me about love when she wants something. I did the same to my mother. Mothers learn to be the experts at guilt trips while young daughters. I tell my mother, "We love you. We want you to be with us a long time. Please, don't you want to see your grandchildren grow up?" Guilt for feeling selfish, gifting guilt. Some people believe we must try convincing those ready to die to cling to life, and I always disagreed, unless it came to my own mother. If you love me, you'll do what I say. Live. I grew up in Florida and Texas, and now I'm here. So there's some southern United States in this poem. It's called Roadkill Wonder. Scales, scales, scales in my childhood. Red-bellied turtle, iguana, too many snakes to name. Red touches yellow, kill a fellow. Red touches black, friend of Jack. Coral versus king. Everyone versus heat. How many times did my mother stop our car so I could hop out and move hard shell holding soft body? By the time my blood came, so much life went away. For years, we drove 4 hours south, up, down, across I-75, Alligator Alley. Back then, the highway had no barrier, and 2, no fence dividing swamp from rush of tires. Cars created opposite winds, metal skins almost touching, Green, pink, red Rorschach sunsets splayed open on cement. How many people saw dead reptiles and only saw roadkill, wasted leather, safety for Pomeranians and other pets destined to wander yards, waiting to be turned from trees to turf? Now I sleep where people surf waters swam by sea lions. I watch sunset drift from driftwood bleachers, so many limbs of trees sang smooth against waves, watched by new grids of homes. Signs promise ocean views and leave out risk of tsunami. I never liked my mother's alligator skin boots, never wore jewelry of sharp tooth on string. Friends and family say we should buy, but I prefer not to hold the deed to displacement. The man with the papers making him responsible for replacing our fridge says he'd sell us the house we live in for a good price. Each morning around sunrise, I watch a family of quail peck around grass we refuse to cut. Our neighbor complains, says we'll catch the eye of bylaw enforcement. Bureaucracy could care less about ecosystems, and we could care less about rules made by people in suits. The tall grass brings all the deer to the yard, and my daughters watch with wonder. I watch them watch what still exists with wonder. And I have one more poem, which I forgot to reprint out. In 8th grade, I was in history class, and there were two boys sitting beside me, and one of them grabbed a good chunk of my body back here. And I was a straight A student and very quiet and a nice little girl. But when he did that, we sat on those desks that had like the connecting metal for the textbooks under and connected to the desk. And so I stood up and I didn't say anything. I just grabbed the giant history book beneath my seat and I took it and I stood beside him and I just did like this on his head. Again, and he just did like this and the class went silent. And the teacher said, "Stop!" And I stopped and I sat back down. And she said, "Come!" And we both went up and we went. And she asked what happened and I told her. And then the teacher, a woman, said, "Go sit back down." This poem is called, "In 8th grade, a boy touched me in a way that was wrong and I defended myself and my mother was proud." I have these zines with my books because there's a genocide happening that this poem references. So if you are sensitive to those parts of the world, I encourage you to take some space. It begins with two epigraphs. One is from Rachel Corrie. Is anyone here familiar with Rachel Corrie? Yes. Rachel Corrie, at 10 years old, spoke in front of Congress and said, "We have got to understand they dream our dreams and we dream theirs. We've got to understand they are us and we are them." She said that at 10. At 23 years old, in 2003, she was killed as a US citizen defending Palestinian homes. She was killed by an Israeli bulldozer in 2003. The second epigraph is from Greta on the June 2025 Freedom Flotilla, and she said, "It's so weird to me that people are separating caring about the environment with caring about humans." The land is mother. I offer into earth of her. Hands push soil away from plastic tray. Roots splay across my palm. Now I plant strawberries, but I was born in a place of palm trees. I was born and taught to recite psalms and surahs. I was born to recite spells and poems. I was born and born and born again to sing for the earth of our mother. Again to let her rain splash across skin. Again, her wind touches me. And I am home. I am home wherever ocean hums, and wherever I am home, you are home. And you, and you, and you. There is no roof or key separating you from me. Across land and seas, 11,000 kilometers away, we have sisters and brothers and siblings beyond binaries, born in a place of olive trees, taught to recite psalms and surahs. They play soccer, fly kites, sleep beside those they love until breath flickers. One final time, stolen, but still returning. Again, 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 the earth holds them all, holds us all. So many small ones now. The earth receives so many small ones, more than in 4 years of tears in the blink of an eye. So many supernovas of children return to our mother, galaxies of mothers crying black holes. How much can the earth weep? So many words to decry Anthropocene, climate change, ecocide, and all those words emerge because the same smiling faces take no issue taking life from the tiny ones who haunt me in my sleep, who haunt me in my waking, who haunt me like the absence of shadows beneath a dark moon. They are here now, with us, beside you, inside you. There is no escape from what our blood remembers, or from what water whispers, or from the land which knows who is birthed where, or from all those who came before and swirl inside our bones. Truth inside bones cannot be stolen from souls. It keeps going and going and going, like a bunny rabbit banging a drum, like the sun energizing every alive being and breaking down death into new energy. A quartet song about a snag, a dead tree nursing new life. Truth inside trees cannot be stolen from their rings. Ask dust built from wood taken from forests near Chernobyl. Always we will radiate, even through quiet, piercing sun. Listen, the quiet is so loud, is so loud, is so loud. Quiet is too loud. When was the last time you screamed? Sometimes screaming is necessary. Sometimes more is necessary. Look how the earth shows us. Snow in the Sahara, fires in Alaska, algae blooms and waves warmed by global north conveniences strike sea lions with madness, and then they strike us. And isn't madness now the only sane option? How to see what the olive trees have seen and not scream. How to see what exists inside phone screens and not weep, weep, weep. What does it mean to keep the peace with the oppressor? Does every loving parent not deserve to kiss their child's cheek? And this is relevant now with what we're seeing with those files. Does every child not deserve to joy without fear of white phosphorus squidding through sky? Listen. How is it so quiet? The earth talks to us each day, each day. Our mother remembers each of us each day. Again, 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 she says, my love, my love, my love. Didn't I teach you to be kind? Thank you.
I almost forgot my notes. That was so moving. Thank you, Fatima. Thank you so much. I think your heart just holds a lot more than the average person, you know? I think it can. Thank you. Next, we will welcome Toussaint St. Negritude. Toussaint is the Poet Laureate Emeritus of Belfast, Maine, and the 2024 nominee for Poet Laureate of Vermont. He's also a bass clarinetist, a composer who conjures whole liberations in full tempo. He's the winner of the 2025 Firebird Award for Mountain Spells, which is the book we'll hear him read from this evening. He's been described as a preacher of jazz-influenced gospel, and he's originally from San Francisco and has lived and broadly thrived across the African diaspora, from the sacred mountains of Haiti to the Coltrane district of North Philadelphia. He, along with bassist Gahlord Dewald is the leader of the band Jaguar Stereo, a free-form ensemble of poetry and improvisational jazz. Toussaint annually teaches poetry for the Governor's Institute of the Arts, among others, and works have been widely published and recorded for over 40 years. Please welcome Toussaint St. Negritude.
Thank you so much. It is such an honor to be here. I'm so thrilled. I set out on a tour. I'm only tired because I'm tired. I have been, so last year after a certain bozo was inaugurated, I've been trying not to say his name. I've been trying not to hear his voice. I really think just the sound of his voice gives ailments. But rather than crawl into a hole and cry about fascism, I decided that I would get up from I live in a tiny house that I built for myself. I've been living in it for over 5 years now, and on 6 acres of land in the mountains of Vermont. I know what they call mountains in Vermont are what we call hills out here. But I grew up in San Francisco in the Bay Area. So I'm used to big mountains, but yeah, I have been on a book tour, not only promoting this book, but in direct defiance of this current movement of erasure and silencing. I'm 66 years old, which means I've been a poet for 800 years. And born in 59, I've seen a few iterations of liberation, from the civil rights movement of the 50s, 60s. It was more of my parents' generation, through all the movements in San Francisco. And I take that freedom seriously. When I learned about Harriet Tubman, I took that freedom seriously. When I saw Jesse Jackson, I grew up seeing him, when he would come and speak in San Francisco. When he said, "I am somebody," and I yelled that out with everyone else, I believed it. I am somebody. And I believe we all are, and we all have the right to be free. So I've been touring the country, that country. It's so nice of you to say it like that. I tell you. But yeah, I've been touring the U.S., starting from Vermont in November. I've been on the road since November, and this is the end of the tour. And I'm so honored to have made it this far. This is my first time in Canada. In Vermont, everyone and the mother has been begging me to go to Montreal. I still haven't been. I'm sure it's a great town, but I'm so glad this is the first place I've come to in Canada. But but yeah, it's been a real journey, a very magical journey, and an encouraging journey. And I don't know if it's similar here in Canada, but in the U.S., those of us that live on either coast, west or usually northeast coast, there's a lot of self-congratulating. Aren't we so lucky? Aren't we so lucky? And there's this fear of everything in between. That space between Philadelphia and Pittsburgh is referred to as Pennsyltucky or Pennsylvania. And growing up as a Californian and having lived the last 16 years in the Northeast, I hear the same sort of grandstanding out there. Aren't we so lucky? From the Vermont perspective, we're so lucky that we only have white people. Isn't that wonderful? We're so lucky that somehow we managed to redline everyone else out. Aren't we so lucky? There's thorns in there, but living on either of these coasts, there's so much fear of everything in between, that great big middle. And, Bozo has definitely spiked those fears up. And so it was really kind of daunting to leave my house just at the start of winter, just like pack up a van and go. If the roof caves in, I'm on Vancouver Island. Hopefully the roof hasn't caved in. But it's been really rewarding to take the leap, take the risk of sitting down with people, to leave the self-congratulations of these so-called chosen cities and hang out in Alabama, read these poems in Alabama or Texas, and not get lynched, not get attacked, but find love, find kindred spirits. And that's been the best thing about the tour. And I'm so glad that it's I hate to use the word ending, but it is culminating with all of your kindred spirits here. And I so appreciate it. So I'm going to begin with the opening poem. It's kind of like my preface. I wanted Toni Morrison to write my preface, but a little trouble with technology through heaven. But so let's see. Yeah, I'm not a comedian, I'm sorry. But so I decided just to write a poem for my preface. And it's the first, one of the first autobiographical poems that I have written. And it's called For All the World to See. And before I begin, I'm a poet who also makes hats. And I'm a poet who also plays the bass clarinet and composes. I'm a poet who sorry. All that brisket in Texas. But I'm a poet, thank you, who dances wholeheartedly every time I hear I will survive. You thought I'd crumble, thought I'd lay down and die. I'm a poet that does a lot of creative things. And I'm saying that because I often wear hats that I make specifically for my performances. And I forget to tell people I actually made this hat. I think people just think, oh, just another weird thing on a weird guy. But so that's the background, and it connects with this poem. So it's called For All the World to See. And one last thing I'm going to add here. I'm sorry. One thing my mother used to do with me when I was a kid that I loved is she would say the little prayer. I thought it was a special thing between me and my mother and my grandmother, but evidently other people have done it too. I see the moon sees me. God bless the moon, God bless me. Just that. And that little poem has seen me through. So, for all the world to see. And here, my beloved earth and cohabitants, we have the rare and luminous star-crested liberationist, a fine and mellowed creature of soul sonic proportions, though known for their glamorous plumage and flights of doubt-defying freedoms. The star-crusted liberationist, more notably, is a creature of remarkable autonomy, iridescently shining not for societal approval, but brilliantly by and for their own known emancipation. Consequently, it is through such lavish self-appreciation that the star-crested liberationist is fabulously so adept at lighting and divining such unshackling skies for all the world to see. Okay, right. And following those wonderful poems about your mother and just honoring and recognizing, I'm going to read one for my mother. It's called Just One Bowl of Love. My mother, having raised an entire revolution, my mother makes a whole loaf of freedom from a bowl of access denied. My mother takes a spoonful of sugar and a handful of courage and sees to the horizons of boundless generations. With the taste of sweet potato pie and a generous amount of divine seasoning, my mother has sweetened the courage of every step I take forward. My mother can nourish the consciousness of the entire table from just one bowl of love. My mother makes the whole world so much more livable, knowing full well I love her more than a mere quarantine of miles can ever tell. I love my mother. I wrote that in those first few months of COVID. Okay, I'm going to just do two more. trying to stick to the 15 here. This is a poem I've noticed, particularly as I've gotten older, but I think it's something I've always kind of wondered about, like walking down the street here, just wondering, it's kind of hard for us to even imagine, but just wondering, what would this section known as Fort Street, what would that look like if Columbus never came? Given that, following Columbus, followed everything. So I wrote this poem called If Columbus Stayed Home. As the world begins to boil, it becomes all the more clear, as if it hadn't been abundantly apparent beforehand. What would have happened if Columbus stayed home? If the Mayflower had veered towards the course of the Titanic? If all the arbiters of the alleged New World had stayed home, had stayed in Europe, if all their mechanizations and schemes of prosperity had greedily ruined all of their own lands, had poisoned their own waters, had spawned the diseases and ecological catastrophes and systemic generations of demoralizations that could have better served their own populations. What would have happened here on this land and other lands of the globe if Europe had simply stayed home? What billions of children could have known the arms of their own cultures, their own languages, their own bodies, without the appointed loins of modern civilization? What would have happened to this planet if Columbus had simply stayed his ass home and the redwoods just kept growing? Okay. This last one I'm going to do, it's become one of my favorites. Even though, the great thing about having a book is, you have a table of contents, but I still do this. Just from all these years of not having a book. So this is called Brothers and Brothers. Brothers and brothers, brothers and brothers, brothers and brothers and brothers and brothers, brothers and brothers, brothers and brothers in arms of other brothers. Brothers and brothers, brothers and brothers, loving brothers in arms of other brothers, loving brothers. Brothers and brothers, brothers and brothers in arms, being brothers, being lovers, being brothers, being mothers, brothers, being mothers, brothers, being sisters, brothers, being rescuers, brothers and brothers and brothers and brothers, being keepers of brothers in love with other brothers. Brothers and brothers, brothers and brothers in arms of other brothers. Brothers and brothers, brothers and brothers, loving brothers, loving brothers, brothers of breath and thunder, holding the one love that cannot be shut asunder. Brothers and brothers, holding, holding the one love that cannot be shut asunder. Brothers of breath and thunder, brothers and brothers, breathing life, breathing life, breathing life. Brothers and brothers, loving brothers in arms of other brothers, loving brothers, breathing life, breathing life, breathing life. Okay, thank you.